Let's start with something uncomfortable. Hatred isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with shouting or slam doors. Sometimes hate rises dressed in silence, sarcasm, or strategic absence. You know, someone hates you not when they're angry at you, but when they stop seeing your humanity altogether. Hate isn't just a feeling, it's a choice to dehumanize. When someone consistently ignores your boundaries, brushes off your words, or pretends your needs are too much, they're not just tired or busy. They're saying, you don't matter enough to consider. When someone repeatedly ignores your boundaries, it's not because they're forgetful. It's because they've decided, whether consciously or not, that your boundaries aren't worth remembering. Your time, optional. Your energy, accessible on demand. Your no, negotiable. This isn't just disrespect. This is a slow, steady form of emotional erosion. Because when someone ignores your needs over and over, they're not just stepping over a line, they're redrawing the map of the relationship, where their comfort is the capital and your needs are barely footnotes. And it doesn't always look explosive. Chronic disregard often shows up as a partner who rolls their eyes every time you express a need, a friend who keeps showing up late even though they know it hurts you, a family member who laughs off your clearly stated boundaries as you being sensitive. Each time it happens, your sense of self-worth takes a hit, not because you're weak, but because connection requires mutual respect. And when that's absent, what remains isn't a relationship. It's a performance where one person plays caretaker and the other plays king. But here's the catch. We often excuse chronic disregard. We say things like, they're just not good with emotional stuff. They have a lot on their plate. They don't mean it like that. And while grace is beautiful, repeated disregard is not a flaw, it's a decision. A decision to stop seeing you, to stop valuing you, to stop listening when it's no longer convenient. When someone ignores your boundaries over and over, they're telling you something without saying a word. I don't take you seriously. And over time, that translates directly to contempt. Here's the hard truth. Contempt is one of the most dangerous emotional dynamics in any relationship. Research has shown it's the strongest predictor of relational failure, whether in marriages, friendships, or workplace teams. Because contempt doesn't just reject behavior, it devalues identity. It says, you're not just wrong, you're ridiculous. You're not just mistaken, you're beneath me. Your voice doesn't matter here. So when disregard becomes chronic, we must ask ourselves, is this forgetfulness or is this someone refusing to treat me like I matter? Because love without respect isn't love. It's control. It's convenience. It's performance. And you, as you are, in your full humanity, deserve more than being tolerated. You deserve to be treated like your feelings aren't interruptions, but invitations to deeper connection. So don't confuse chronic disregard with a personality quirk. Call it what it is, the early warning sign of contempt. And contempt, left unchecked, doesn't stay silent. It becomes resentment. It becomes manipulation. It becomes hate that wears the mask of apathy. When we talk about betrayal, most people think of the big stuff. Lies, affairs, abandonment. But one of the most gut-wrenching betrayals doesn't make noise. It doesn't leave bruises or spark shouting matches. It happens quietly. Ultimately, it happens when someone uses your own vulnerability against you. Let's slow this down. At some point, you took a risk. You let your guard down. You said, here, this is me, unfiltered. This is the part I usually hide. You shared a fear, a trauma, a secret, maybe something tender you had never said out loud before, and they nodded. Maybe even thanked you for trusting them. You believed in that moment that the space between you had grown stronger, deeper, that you were safer than you had been the moment before. But then later, days, weeks, maybe months, they turned your words into weapons. Maybe a subtle, sarcastic jab, a joke at your expense, harmless remark about that very thing you told them in confidence, now twisted in front of others. Or maybe it was direct. They used your past to silence you, your insecurities to win an argument, your pain to make themselves feel powerful. And just like that, your courage became their leverage. Let's be really clear here. This is not just unkind behavior. It is deep betrayal. Because weaponized vulnerability says this: I see your softest part, and I've decided it's useful to me. I'm not protecting it, I'm exploiting it. That is hatred dressed up as closeness. That is violence with a velvet glove. What makes this betrayal so painful isn't just the breach of trust, it's that it rewrites the past. It makes you question if you were ever safe at all. If that moment of intimacy was real or a setup. And it makes you wonder if opening up was a mistake, not a strength. That's the real wound. Because when someone takes your vulnerability and turns it into ammunition, they're not just hurting you in the moment, they're sending a message. You can never be soft here again. This is how people build walls, not because they want to be cold, but because at some point they learned that warmth was a liability. And here's the sad part. People who do this often blame you for reacting. They'll say things like, you're overreacting. It's just a joke. I didn't think you'd take it so seriously. You're too sensitive. But those words are not explanations. They are gaslight-soaked bandages for wounds they inflicted. And you do not have to accept them. People who love you, even in conflict, do not use your wounds as weapons. They fight fair. They stay grounded. They never forget that the person they're angry at is also the person they love. So when someone turns your vulnerability against you, it's not just a red flag. It's a line in the sand. You don't owe them another confession. You don't owe them another chance to understand how deeply they cut. You owe yourself safety. You owe yourself boundaries. You owe yourself the kind of love that holds your secrets with reverence, not with a grip tight enough to throw them back at you. Because being vulnerable is one of the most courageous things a human can do. And anyone who uses that courage against you doesn't deserve access to it again. There's a special kind of heartbreak that comes not when someone mocks your pain, but when they ruin your joy. You know the feeling. You share good news, something that lit you up, something you've been quietly working toward or praying for, and the response is cold, dismissive, jealous, critical, or worse, strategically cruel. You walk into a room lit up with something you're proud of, only to have someone pull the plug. That's not a coincidence, that's sabotage. Here's the truth we often don't talk about. Not everyone is happy when you're happy. Not everyone claps when you win. Not everyone can handle your light, especially when they haven't faced their own darkness. and that sabotage, it's rarely loud. It doesn't come with open anger. It comes in sideways like this. They undercut your excitement with a harmless comparison. Oh, that's cool, but did you hear what so-and-so did? They laugh at your dreams. Wow, you really think that'll work? They bring up something bad right in your brightest moment. I'm happy for you, but don't forget what happened last time. Or they simply say nothing at all and let the silence do the hurting. And what hurts the most is not just the words, it's what they mean. It means that your joy doesn't feel safe with them. It means that your growth, your peace, your healing, your glow up, it all threatens something in them that they haven't made peace with. Light reminds them of everything they've abandoned in themselves. Let's be clear, joy sabotage is rarely about you. It's about the war someone is fighting with their own unhealed wounds. But, and this is critical, that doesn't mean it's okay. Understanding why someone lashes out doesn't excuse the damage they cause. Because here's what's really happening underneath joy sabotage. Resentment. Resentment is corrosive. It builds in silence. It festers. It tells someone, why them? Why not you? They don't deserve that happiness, that success, that love. And when that resentment goes unchecked, it starts to show up in quiet acts of sabotage, little pokes meant to deflate, humiliate, or destabilize you. This is often the invisible turning point in many relationships, romantic, familial, or platonic. You start hiding your joy to keep the peace. You downplay your wins to make them comfortable. You shrink, not because you want to, but because every time you shine, someone near you burns with bitterness. And make no mistake, resentment unspoken always becomes resentment expressed. It may look passive, but it's a kind of hate. It's the hatred of what you represent, the freedom, the courage, the peace that someone else doesn't feel brave enough to reach for themselves. And it hurts because we all want to be celebrated. We want our joy to be met with arms wide open, not folded across chests. We want to feel safe in our happiness, not punished for it. So what do? You don't dim to keep others from squinting. You don't apologize for joy you earned. You don't pretend to be smaller so someone else doesn't feel insecure. What you do is take inventory and you ask, who celebrates me when I'm thriving? Who mirrors back my light instead of trying to shut it off? And if someone consistently sabotages your joy, the question is no longer, why do they do this? It becomes, why am I still handing them access to the most sacred parts of my life? Because your joy is sacred. It's your evidence that healing is possible, that effort matters, that good things do happen. And you deserve people who protect it, people who hold it gently, fiercely, and without fear. You deserve people who don't just endure your joy, but rise with it. Silence can be healing. It can be grounding, reflective, even sacred. But when silence is used as a weapon, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes emotional abuse. Let's be really clear. The silent treatment is not the same as taking space to cool down. It's not, I need a minute to breathe. It's not setting boundaries. That's not healthy distance. It's intentional disconnection designed to punish, control, or manipulate. And it is deeply damaging because it plays on one of the most fundamental human needs, the need to belong, the need to be seen, the need to matter. When someone gives you the silent treatment, what they're really saying is, you're not worth my voice. You don't get access to me until I decide you've earned it. Your existence right now is an inconvenience. That kind of silence is loud, deafening. It creates a void, a vacuum where the person you care about has pulled away and left you suspended in uncertainty. You start questioning everything. Did I do something wrong? Are they okay? Should I apologize for something I don't understand? Do I fix it? Or wait or beg? That's the trap, because now your entire emotional state is wrapped around their reaction. And that's exactly what the silent treatment is designed to do. Shift the power, create confusion, trigger insecurity. It's not communication, it's control. Here's the thing, people who love you can still be angry, they can be upset, hurt, even furious. But they will find a way eventually to come back to the table, to talk, to repair. They may need space, but they won't weaponize absence. But people who use silence to punish you, they're not seeking healing, they're seeking dominance. They want you to squirm, to sweat, to second guess yourself. And often they want you to apologize, not because you did something wrong, but because they need to be in control again. This is especially dangerous in relationships, romantic or otherwise, because it erodes your sense of self. Over time, you learn to chase connection. You learn that silence equals punishment, and punishment ends when you shrink, when you submit, when you take responsibility for their emotional withdrawal. And the longer this goes on, the more it becomes a pattern, a cycle, conflict, silence, guilt, reconnection, repeat. But here's what you need to know. Healthy relationships do not use silence as leverage. Healthy people do not withdraw love and attention to control behavior. And you should never have to beg for someone to acknowledge your presence. The silent treatment may not leave a mark on your skin, but it bruises the soul. It chips away at your self-worth. It teaches you that love is conditional, that your voice is too much, or worse, not enough to be heard. And that is not love. That is emotional abuse. So what do you do when silence becomes a pattern? You name it. You say, recognize this pattern, and I will not engage in a dynamic where I'm punished through disconnection. You set a boundary. If you need space, I respect that. But if you're withdrawing to control or punish, I won't participate. And then if they continue, you decide how much access they should have to your heart. Because love isn't proven through silence. It's proven through presence, through repair, through mutual effort, even in the hard moments. You deserve a relationship where conflict is hard, but never cruel, where distance is about growth, not punishment, where your voice is not just tolerated, but honored. Because the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And no one who truly sees you will ever use silence to erase you. Humiliation is never an accident. It's never just a joke. It's not teasing or just being real. Public humiliation is calculated cruelty. And when someone chooses to shame you in front of others, they aren't just making a statement about you. They're revealing something much deeper, much darker about themselves. Public humiliation is not a slip of the tongue. It is a window into internal rage. Let's be honest, we've all been there. You're at a dinner table or a group chat or a meeting, and suddenly out of nowhere, someone drops a comment that cuts and might be dressed in humor. Might come wrapped in passive aggression. But you feel it. The sting, the weight, the spotlight. Everyone else chuckles nervously, unsure what to do, while you sit there trying to make your face unreadable, while inside you're spiraling. And later, when you bring it up, you're met with one of the most manipulative lines in the book. You're too sensitive. It was just a joke. Don't make it a big deal. But here's the thing, it is a big deal. Because when someone publicly embarrasses you, especially someone who's close to you, it's never about humor. So it's about dominance. It's about sending a message. Public humiliation says, I know something private about you and I'm willing to expose it. I want people to see you smaller. I need a moment of power. And your dignity is the price. And that, my friend, doesn't come from love. It comes from rage. Not always rage that's explosive or obvious. Sometimes it's cold, resentful, repressed, but it's rage nonetheless. Because people who humiliate others publicly are trying to offload something they don't know how to carry. Their bitterness, their shame, their envy, their inadequacy. They're leaking it out in sharp remarks, in cruel sarcasm, in subtle jabs that slice like razors. And instead of dealing with their emotions privately, honestly, and directly, they make a spectacle at your expense. By public is it's not just about hurting you. It's about being seen hurting you. It's about drawing a crowd, securing a twisted kind of control, because if they can get others to laugh or stay silent, they've now positioned themselves as the one holding the power. You, the one being put in your place. That is not a conflict. That's not tough love. That's emotional degradation. And it is abuse, plain and simple. It's especially toxic because it creates fear. Fear of speaking your truth. Fear of showing up fully. Fear that anything you say or do might be twisted and turned into public ammunition. You start shrinking, silencing yourself, editing your joy, your vulnerability, your honesty, because the cost of exposure is just too high. And this isn't just about isolated moments. When public humiliation becomes a pattern, especially from someone you're close to, it's a red flag, a signal flare, a warning that this person has unresolved rage they're taking out on you, disguised as entertainment, as banter, as truth-telling. But make no mistake, anyone who tries to destroy your dignity in public is battling demons in private and using you as a shield for their own self-loathing. So what do? You draw a hard line. You say, I will not be spoken to that way, especially in front of others. You hold people accountable even if they try to brush it off. And if it continues, you walk away from the performance. Because humiliation isn't love. It's not tough feedback. It's not character building. It's rage masquerading as keeping it real. It's emotional violence in a social setting, and you deserve more. You deserve people who protect your name in public, who bring their concerns to you in private, who love you enough not to use your trust as a stage for their unresolved pain. Because true love doesn't humiliate. True love honors